Hey guys, Carlo Filippone here, your muscle chef, ready to talk to you about this guy, the chicken pound. What do we do with the chicken pound? We prepare grilled chicken in different flavors, 6 to be exact. If you're serious about bodybuilding and you meal prep, don't go anywhere else. This is the company for you.
RX Television on RxMuscle.com. This is Ask Dave, better known as hashtag Ask Dave, brought to you by Species Nutrition, Titan Medical, the Dubai Muscle Show, Lift Ugly, and the Chicken Pound. I'm your host, Sadiq Faruqi. This is your 30-minute question and answer show with Dave Palumbo. All your questions on diet, training, supplementation, whatever's on your mind, it is all on the table. As we now bring in Dave Palumbo. Dave, right now, this is, for all intents and purposes, a full disclosure, a pre-recorded episode. I myself, right now, am in Dubai, and we are interviewing some of the top names in all of bodybuilding, and these are interviews that RX Muscle users can expect on the channel over the next few coming days.
Actually, you're probably on an airplane right now heading over there, right? Because I think you're flying out on Wednesday, aren't you?
Tuesday morning.
Oh, Tuesday. Okay, so you're definitely there already. Probably at the Burj Dubai there, sitting in the, what was that restaurant we ate at last year, right outside the Burj?
Oh, man.
Was it a Lebanese restaurant? What was that? Remember the restaurant that my client took us to? Mohammed?
I forget the name of it, but it was like overlooking just about everything. The Burj Khalifa, the
Burj Khalifa,
site.
yeah.
It was incredible. Yeah, it was unreal.
I told Nick when I interviewed him with Phil Heath last week, I said, you know what, I'm really going to miss going. I said, but next year I'll be back for sure if you'll have us. Sid is going to hold down the fort this year, and I know you'll be doing some good stuff out there. And look, you got a lot of great athletes out there. You know, I wanted to tell you, I think what we should actually do is you should get Phil and Kai on stage together. And like I did with Ronnie and Jay last year.
If they agree to that, I think that would be blockbuster.
That's a blockbuster.
Yeah.
This way, because it'll be way more entertaining if you could talk about what it was like going head-to-head all those years against each other.
No, that actually, I think I'm going to bring that up to the organizing committee, and we'll see if we can make that happen.
Because you know what? There's potential that it could still happen in the future, whereas Jay and Ronnie were done. So
that's never going to happen again, right?
Nah. Yeah.
But of course, we're also going to have. I know there was a lot of demand from a lot of our Middle Eastern fans. So Hadi Chupan is going to be on the stage as well. I believe Hadi Rambat is going to be joining him as his translator. But see the full list. It is really some of the cream of the crop of the bodybuilding world. We're posting on our Instagram, and we're going to roll out these interviews slow and steady, just like we did last year. But we'll try to make it happen. We'll try to get Phil and Kai on the stage together. But nonetheless, there are going to be some great interviews. Yeah. Keep it locked to our Instagram for our stories and our feed, and of course, everything we're going to be rolling out.
And you should better text Sammy Trudy too to get another sushi meal out of him. You know.
Oh, you know what? I think he's actually going to be out. He's in Sweden. There's something.
Okay.
Yeah, so I'm going to have to find somebody else to get sushi. Let's go to the questions. Again, if you're not following us on Instagram, it is official_RxMuscle. Let's go to Philip Rowe. Is it true that people who work out have lower free testosterone because it gets used by their body more? Is level 17 low for so I guess this is a two-part question, and then is level 17 low for a 24-year-old? And do the levels fluctuate much during the course of the day?
They can fluctuate testosterone levels naturally. You know, they're pulsed obviously after, training and stuff like that. Testosterone doesn't get used up. In other words, if you don't work out, you don't have higher testosterone than the guy who doesn't work out, who uses up his testosterone. We all have testosterone that binds to receptors, and people who train will make better use of their testosterone, but it's not going to use up the testosterone in their body. So I think that's like a misnomer, like, oh no, I don't want to work out too much because I'm going to use up all my testosterone. I'm not going to be able to recover right. That's just not how it goes. Now, his levels that he's quoting are different. it's a different scale than we have in the U.S. In the U.S., it's like from 250 to 850. I know in Europe they have like a different scale. I don't know what the range is on. I just don't remember offhand. I think he said his was 17. I don't know what that translates to on our scale, but you know, if you're training and the normal range is 250 to 850, you want to be higher to 850, obviously, to get optimal results, especially if you're natural. That's why if you are on the lower side, you want to take a product like Testalize that we sell at Species Nutrition, because that's going to optimize your natural levels. It'll lower estrogen, lower DHT, and raise testosterone. You're going to grow better. And so, you know, it all depends on what you're doing. Now, if you're taking exogenous testosterone, whether it be via hormone replacement or you're doing a cycle, it really doesn't matter what your natural levels are because you're taking the exogenous or outside sources of it. So it really depends on, you know, what your goals are physique-wise, but don't think you're going to use up your testosterone now. If anything, people who train have higher testosterones because their bodies will overcompensate and produce more because their bodies realize they need more.
Let's go to D.A. Carrero. Do you have any experience or any of your clients have experience using orlistat for losing weight? And if you have used it or have anyone had used it, do you have any good experiences with it? I guess the brand is Zenical.
Yeah, they have different brands. Orlistat is a fat, it binds up fats and it makes them unabsorbable. The problem is, well, there's two problems. One of the problems is you're going to have oil leaking out of your butt, okay? You're basically going to be pooping out oil that you're not absorbing. The second problem is that, yeah, you might absorb the fats you're eating, but you're also absorbing the fat-soluble vitamins. So you're depriving yourself of essential fatty acids and you're depriving yourself of the fat-soluble vitamins like vitamin D, A, E, and K. That's not good. So you don't want to take any kind of supplements or drugs that block the absorption of nutrients because you cannot pick which nutrients you want. Basically, orlistat was created for fat slobs who want to eat like junk food all day long and not absorb their fats in the junk food. It's a stupid way to lose weight or try to lose weight. It just fosters bad eating habits and it winds up making you nutritionally or nutrient deprived.
Alyssa512, so I'll actually add an addendum on at the end of this question, is doing one steroid cycle a year enough to reach maximum gains? And if not, in your opinion, again, probably all case dependent, but what would be the minimal number to reach maximal gains?
Stay on all year. You're going to grow the best. No, I mean, let's face it, the longer you're on, the better off you are. Now, you do need to clean out to resensitize receptors and clean some toxicity out, but you're certainly going to grow better from 3 cycles a year than you are from 1 cycle a year. That's just the way it goes, unfortunately. Now, a cycle is dependent on how many weeks you want to do it for. So, I mean, with the guys I work with a lot of times who compete, you know, every single year, we usually do off season, right into pre-contest, and then off for 8 to 10 weeks, and then we repeat the cycle. For people who are not competing, I'll clean them out twice a year. So we'll do maybe 5 months, off 6 weeks, 5 months, off 6 weeks, or 8 weeks, and then repeat that. That seems to be the best way to grow.
Let's go to Boulder Shoulder Physique. How does it seem that sometimes gear works better on some people than they do others? Is it a matter of genetics, or do some people have more receptors?
It's both. I mean, having more receptors is usually genetics, you know, so some people genetically are predisposed to grow better, you know. Is it related to the amount of myostatin in the body? That's possible. Myostatin is a protein that is produced by the body that inhibits muscle growth. People who produce less myostatin respond better to weight training, to taking anabolic steroids, to producing their own natural anabolics better because there's no turn-off switch, okay? Supposedly, Flex Wheeler has no myostatin in his body when he was tested, and obviously that's why he was such a hyper responder. But, you know, you can call it genetics. We can say the genetics are related to myostatin. We don't really know for sure. All I can tell you is that some people respond better than others. Lavronis, who supposedly has myostatin in his body, according to the test that he had done, is one of the best hyper responders I've ever seen to drugs. He grows faster than anyone. So there's a genetic component to every aspect of bodybuilding, and that's why it's very hard to beat people that are superior. You know, they said Lance Armstrong, when he was tested at the Cooper Clinic for his ability to buffer lactic acid, that means get lactic acid out of the body. So you're exercising, you're producing waste product lactic acid. It makes the muscle feel like it's burning. He was able to flush lactic acid out better than any human being that had ever been tested at the Cooper Clinic, which gives him an enormous advantage when he's cycling against these guys, especially when you're cycling up a hill like this, and you don't feel pain like the other person next to you feels because you're pumping lactic acid or buffering lactic acid better than them. How do you beat someone like that? That's a genetic advantage, okay? And so genetics always supersede usually non-genetic gifts. If you have genetics and you work hard, you'll be unbeatable like Ronnie Coleman or Lance Armstrong. If you have crappy genetics but you're a hard worker, you'll do really well. And if you have great genetics and you don't really work that hard, you'll do well, but you won't be the best. And that's what it comes down to. So when you get a person that has great genetics, for whatever this sport they're doing, and they work hard, harder than anyone else, they're untouchable.
Let's go to Chris Angeletti. Dave, your thoughts on Matt Mendenhall, had he competed today, I guess, in today's bodybuilding with his structure and supplements?
Well, he took the same supplements that everyone. Maybe they didn't have GH back then when he was, competing. But his problem was he never came in shredded and in shape. And if he didn't do that today, he would be the same. It would be the same thing, same story. Great genetics, great potential, just never realized, his gifts and didn't put the work in. If he took his genetics and got in the best shape of his life today, he'd probably be Mr. Olympia. So, but we've seen it over and over. Plenty of guys with great genetics that just never worked hard enough or never was able to figure out the right formula to be their best, and they never really realized the potential that they were capable of.
R. David Hall, when do you consider an individual enhanced? Is anyone taking testosterone injections at any dosage or someone breaching at the top of the normal scale when it comes to testosterone levels considered enhanced? Can you be considered enhanced by taking testosterone only, or does it have to be another compound like Tren, for example? Are TRT patients considered enhanced?
Anyone who takes anything that's not made in their bodies naturally is enhanced in my book, okay? Hormonally speaking. Now, does that include taking vitamins? I guess if you take vitamins, you're enhanced too, in a sense, because you don't, taking a pill with 1,000 milligrams of vitamin C gives you a great advantage over having to eat, 25 oranges to get that vitamin C out of it. So, it all depends on how far you want to go with it. When we talk about hormonally enhanced, if you take HRT or you take an anabolic steroid full-blown cycle, you're enhanced in my book.
Let's go to Yanni Polk, a question from Finland. What do you think about manipulating potassium and sodium before a contest? Many coaches here are upping the potassium while decreasing sodium to get rid of the extra water, especially with natural athletes who cannot use diuretics pre-contest.
So, potassium really doesn't have very much to do with water loss, okay? It's more about sodium, getting rid of sodium from the body. I like to leave potassium alone if possible, and that's why I will only use a potassium-sparing diuretic. Diazide spares potassium. It does not allow you to lose it or gain it, okay? All you're doing with when you use diazide is flushing sodium out of the body. When you flush sodium, water follows. That's the safest way to be. If you take diuretics that increase or enhance the amount of potassium in your muscle, if you overdo it, you will cause cramping as well and make yourself sick. And a lot of guys have died because of that. Milos tells the story about how Momo Benaziza didn't die of dehydration. He died of potassium overload, which caused his heart to stop. Because remember, potassium should be inside the muscle, not outside the muscle. If your blood levels of potassium get too high, which is outside the muscle, it ruins the gradient between sodium and potassium, and it will stop your heart. Okay, so we don't want that. Don't mess with potassium. Don't make the equation any more difficult than it needs to be. All you need to do is flush a little sodium out of your body, which can be done with a sodium restriction and with a potassium-sparing diuretic like Diazide, or if you're a natural athlete, you use an herbal diuretic like Uva Ursi, and that will flush sodium and water out of the body. So it's not that complicated. The more complicated you make it, the more problems you run into.
STE Temple, post-contest rebound, 4 weeks post-show, now have pushed calories to double to what they were pre-peak week and still starving. Around 15-pound over stage weight off cycle, cardio at 45 minutes daily. Should I push foods further or just ride this hunger out?
Well, I would cut back your cardio. If you're doing, why are you doing 45 minutes of cardio if you're done competing? The cardio is making you hungry. Stop the cardio, and see if that helps. Okay, something that people don't realize, and it took me a while to understand this as well. You could stop dieting for a show and start eating, a lot more food, and you will still have a hunger that is unquenchable. Okay, you'll have a thirst that is unquenchable. The reason being is because your body is rebounding. It will take you at least 1 month to feel, quote, normal after you do a show. Even if you gain back 25 pounds, you're not going to feel normal. Your body is like doing everything it can to get you to feed it, to get you to give it water and sodium, especially right after a show where you've depleted all that out. So don't think just because a week has passed or 2 weeks has passed, all right, I don't understand why I'm so hungry. Well, you just starved yourself for 16 weeks. You took yourself down to 0 body fat, okay? Your body is not going to normalize so quickly. I found it usually took to the 1 month mark before I started feeling somewhat normal, and it took 2 months before I was really back to myself again. And that's just, you got to get used to that. Understand it. Don't feel shocked about it. It happens to us all.
Let's go to Big Ant 1026. Dave, what do you think of cardio before weight training if your goal is to build lean muscle? Back in the day, we always worked out with weights first, and after cardio, wishing everyone, of course, happy holidays.
Well, you don't want to do cardio first because then you're going to deplete glycogen out of the muscle. You potentially could, which is going to make your weight training session afterwards not as good. And you don't want to do cardio, and you want to do cardio after you weight train because you want to do it in a depleted state. So if you weight train first and deplete glycogen and you're really low, on blood glucose levels, and then you get on the bike and start pedaling or walking on a treadmill, you're going to start grabbing stored body fat as a fuel source to fuel your activity. And that's what we want. So you like to do cardio in a depleted state, which means first thing in the morning when you wake up or post-workout after you train. Never do cardio first, then work out.
Let's go to TJ Russell. Dave, if your body fat got to high, let's say 20% at the beginning of your off season, would you continue to bulk or cut down body fat before continuing to grow?
If I started looking like a fat slob, I would cut my carbs back for sure and try to bring body fat down a little bit. But I would still eat enough where I can grow. So sometimes you start off with just too much food and it causes you to get fat. And you didn't know, it was trial and error. So you cut your food back. And your body theoretically should start cannibalizing some of that stored body fat as fuel to fuel the muscle building process. So like I said, it's a game of trial and error. You try this out. If it's not enough, you eat more. If it's too much and you're getting fat, you cut it back.
Let's go to Jason Rizza. Dave, if someone was to struggle eating food, is drinking a shake 50 grams isolate, 60-gram carbs from oats and mac oil or peanut butter, is that good enough for a meal to grow? Or I guess I'll add it too, is it just, something to kind of hold you over?
It's great. Never miss a feeding. If you got to drink shakes because you're not hungry, then do it. As long as you're not missing, you're not losing out on anything, and you're not depriving yourself. You're not going to cannibalize muscle tissue. It is what it is. When you drink a lot of shakes because you can't eat the food, you might not be as full and bloated. You might go to the bathroom a lot more because it's liquid. It goes through you a little quicker. But it's better than not eating and missing that meal. Never, ever miss a meal. Not one. You miss one a week, you just gave up all the growth for that week. One meal or one shake, and you're done. So if you're eating, let's say you're eating 4 meals and 3 shakes a day, you know what? If you got to do 6 shakes a day and 2 meals, so be it. Do what you got to do to make sure you get all your protein, fat, and carbs down.
Canadian Bodybuilding, my blood work shows low white blood cells. Should I be concerned? Doctor says he isn't worried about it, but he doesn't seem to care much about anything at all. Normal range says 4 to 11, while my score was 3.1. Your opinion?
What's low on him? Red blood cells?
Yeah, white.
White blood cells. Low white blood cells could mean some people just genetically have lower white blood cells. If you're not sick, it doesn't really matter. Okay, low red blood cells would be more of a problem. Low white blood cells, some people just have an immune system that's not as attenuated and has less white blood cells. Like I said, as long as you're not getting chronically sick, don't worry about it.
Ali SS, Dave, what do you think about using nolvadex during a testosterone cycle? Seems to be a controversial topic. Your opinion?
Look, in the early 90s, there was no aromatase inhibitors of that around. We used nolvadex, 10 milligrams twice a day, all the time, with all our cycles. And people grew, So, there's research to show that, nolvadex or tamoxifen can inhibit IGF-1, production. But, how much it does that, it's obviously it's not neutralizing it. It might blunt a little bit. Now, when I found that out and Arimidex became available, I think I was one of the very first people to discover Arimidex, and I started using it, and it worked really well. So, it is what it is. You got to just kind of figure out what you got to do. If you can't get an aromatase inhibitor, and all you have is Nolvadex, and you're very estrogen, sensitive, and you're getting gynecomastia, and you feel like you're being shut down severely, then you use Nolvadex. It's fine.
Oh boy. Aura Garcia. I don't know if you've read about this. It's literally butthole sunning. Have you heard about this?
Butthole sunning, like tanning your butthole?
Literally tanning your butthole. I guess apparently, this is hit the news cycles now. Apparently you have wellness influencers talking about how 30 seconds of literally butthole sunning provides these imminent health effects, benefits, whatever. I don't know if you read about this or if you even can conjure up an opinion about this, or if you look into this a little bit more.
I'm completely interested now in hearing about the theories behind butthole sunning. I got to read up on it after the show. I remember when bleaching your butthole was big for all the porn stars, that they were bleaching their butthole, but I didn't know that sun exposure on your butthole had any difference than sunlight to your body. Maybe you produce more vitamin D3. I don't know when you're exposed to the sun. I have to read up on it. Never heard of it. It sounds a little hokey that it would only be 30 seconds. But hey, if you like to sun your butthole and you have a private outside backyard, you want to stick your ass up in the air, go for it. I say equal opportunity to everyone.
Let's go to Grizzly Adam. Best way to deal with acute foot pain from around the metatarsal bone.
I have acute pain on the bottom of my foot all the time. I have these pulsing plantar fasciitis pains. And I don't know if it's from, I have no arch in my foot. It drives me nuts sometimes. And I know that if I bend my knee in, there's less pressure on there and it takes the pain away. So, I don't know what you should do, to be honest with you. If you have bone pain, I would get it x-rayed and see what the hell's going on. You might need some surgery or something like that on it. That's not normal. I know what's causing mine, probably just because I don't walk properly, because I have the one quad that's a little messed up on the other leg. I probably compensate with the left leg more, and that's why the bottom of the left foot is hurting me more. You got to figure out what's causing the pain, and then as far as solving what you should do for the pain, that's gonna be a little bit of trial and error. You got to figure out why is it causing. Is it the way you walk? Is it the shoes you're wearing? I would change the shoes, try to get custom orthotics for your shoes, see if those help. If not, you might want to go to a sports podiatrist and see what they recommend.
Mully0521, can I keep OMEGALYZE in the refrigerator? They tend to melt sometime in warmer weather.
Yeah, there's no reason why you can't do that. Sure, you can keep them cold. There's no reason to chill them down, but if it's a matter of, if you don't have air conditioning in your house and they're getting too warm, it's much safer to keep them in the refrigerator. Yeah, maybe put them in like the butter. There's like a butter drawer in the refrigerator, which is a little warmer than the rest of the refrigerator. That might be a better place to keep.
Gaz Clark, can you advise which anti-ester to use on a test and anadrol cycle? Also, can you confirm the cause of water retention when taking anadrol? I understand it doesn't convert to estrogen.
Anadrol absolutely converts to estrogen. That's why it suppresses your pituitary gland. Your pituitary is suppressed by estrogen, and anadrol absolutely aromatizes. That's why it causes gynecomastia, and that's why it causes tremendous fluid retention. The fluid retention is because of the estrogen increases. Now, my own theory is that certain anabolic steroids also have a fluid retention ability in and of themselves, but a lot of the fluid retention we see from anabolics is from that conversion to that aromatization to estrogen. So I'm sure that's what's going on, with Anadrol. Anadrol and Dianabol both cause fluid retention, and it's because they both aromatize very heavily.
Esau Garcia, what's your advice for bringing up a lagging body part after shoulder surgery? My left arm is smaller than my right. It's been over 2 years, and I can't seem to get it to catch up.
Unilateral cable movements. So isolating movements where you're doing one arm at a time. You're doing curls one arm at a time with the cable. You're doing hammer curls one arm at a time. You're doing overhead tricep extensions. You're doing reverse pull downs. You're doing one arm push downs. Everything one arm at a time so that each arm is working individually the same. If you do 50 pounds with the weak arm, and always start with your weak arm first, then you only do 50 pounds with the strong arm. Even if the strong arm can do more, you limit yourself by what the weak arm can do, and eventually it'll catch up.
Not sure, Dave, if we've asked this question. The name sounds pretty familiar. Correct me if we have. Laxogenin. That's how you pronounce it, right? Laxogenin?
Or Laxogenin, yeah.
Laxogenin, okay, sorry. Your thoughts on Laxogenin? Are there truly any benefits from taking it?
No, I think it's the biggest scam product on the market. I think save your money.
Encore 497, 2 scenarios: more food, more cardio, or less food, less cardio, assuming deficit stays the same.
It's a tough question. It's really person specific. I like to cut food last, so a lot of times I'll increase cardio first. If that doesn't work, then I'll cut food. So if you can keep the food high and raise the cardio a little bit, I think it's a better option. But at a certain point, it's diminishing returns. If your cardio is getting too high, you got to cut back food.
Another one where I may need help with the pronunciation from Original Jack is choline. Is it inositol?
Inositol.
Inositol. Choline, inositol, a good fat burner. I used to see it advertised in old bodybuilding magazines in the 70s and 80s.
That's why it's in old bodybuilding magazines. It's not in new magazines because it doesn't really work. No. Save your money.
Your top tips for training around a torn bicep after surgery.
Don't do any pulling movements. I mean, it's bicep. Look, if you have a torn bicep, you could pretty much do any kind of pushing movement you want. Within reason. I wouldn't be going to try to set records because you still might compensate in some way and re-tear that bicep. But you certainly should be able to do some benching and some tricep, pushing type movements. I would just go very light. If you tore a bicep, you really got to let that thing heal, because the worst, and it's happened to me with my quad, the worst thing you could ever experience is you get a muscle torn, it gets reattached, you're on the mend, you're healing your way back, you're feeling good, and then you re-tear it again. Not good. And I didn't even do anything to re-tear mine. I just was walking around and I said, hey, I'm missing part of my quad tendon again. So mine just kind of pulled away. But what's worse than that is if you're actually in the gym benching and your thing gives out. I know there was a guy, I'm not gonna mention his name, he had a shoulder replacement, and I think 6 weeks after a shoulder replacement, he was benching like 500 something pounds. That's not a smart thing to do. And his shoulder replacement, I think, just broke through the femur bone, and the guy just lost consciousness because he was in so much pain. That's not the way you want to go out.
One last one, Dave. Zach B. And we've had quite a few people asking about this. Spoiler alert, he is on the channel right now from an episode last week. Where is Jimmy the Bull?
By the time this show goes up, since we pre-recorded it, Jimmy the Bull will have been on After Hours the week prior, and it's his 60th birthday. He's on the show. We got him back, and I got him to download Skype to his phone. I think he's going to be a regular on After Hours nowadays. He's in good spirits. He seems like he's back to the old bull. He's looking great. He was actually posing on camera for me and showing off some big biceps. 60, you'd never know this guy is 60 years old. He looks great, and he's back, and I think you guys are going to love that episode.
So again, keep an eye out for that After Hours on RxMuscle.com and the RxMuscle YouTube channel. That's going to do for this episode of Ask Dave. Special thanks, Dave Palumbo and Tyler Shore. I'm Sadiq Faruqi. We'll see you next time.